Hello, I'm Jenny Luscombe and I'm a facilitator of healing and a passionate advocate for self-healing. And I'm just about to do my show on holistic radio, which happens 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock UK time um, every Wednesday. And it's on Telegram, holistic radio. So it would really help me to help as many people as possible. If you like what you've heard here today and you think somebody else might benefit, if you would share with them, if you would subscribe, thank you very much. And today's topic is about the root chakra.
Are you sitting comfortably, Jenny?
I am, thank you. Thank you for asking.
It's a start, and then it's over to you. So it's three, two, one.
Hello, this is Jenny Luscombe, and this is Feeling is Healing, and this is episode 31. And today I'm going to talk a bit about the root chakra. Um, so yeah, I haven't like with all of my therapies, I haven't really been particularly tuned into the chakra system, but sort of on the spiritual path, it's kind of come up for me. Like most things have come up for me kind of accidentally. Um, I don't really know why that is. It just seems to have been my path. So our chakras and our meridians, I mean, I deal more with meridians because I'm a tapping therapist, but it's all part of the same system. So our chakras and our meridians are how our life force energy is organized in our bodies. So if we have unprocessed trapped emotions and trauma, then this causes our chakras and our meridians to be blocked instead of open. So when they're open, everything is in divine and perfect order. So everything's working. Um, so the root chakra is actually sort of located at the base of the spine, sort of round about where your pelvic floor is. So this is sort of referred to as our first chakra, related to our physical body. I mean, there are chakras as well beneath our feet, kind of in the earth, and then obviously above our head, kind of outside of our body. But this is the first chakra within our physical body. So this chakra is associated with the earth. So this is how we are grounded on the earth. So this is about our groundedness or our ungroundedness. Um, and it's also closely associated with the color red. So I've kind of tuned into this chakra a lot lately because I use a therapy called the body code. So when I use the body code, it's a system actually, which it's a bit like a branching database. So if anybody remembers the kids game Guess Who, and it's like, you have all the little faces, there's little you flip down the little faces, and then you ask the person questions opposite you. Oh, has he got black hair? Has he got blue eyes or whatever? So you're trying to identify the character that your partner has who's sitting opposite you. It's kind of like that. So I ask yes, no questions using muscle testing, about the client who's come and their problem. Is this person attracting this circumstance, or this bad relationship, or this pain in their body, or whatever their issue is? The body code directs me through their body. So I ask questions, is it an organ? Is it a gland? Is it a system of the body? Is it, and then if it's the skeletal system, for example, I'll ask, is it the vertebral column? Is it the cranial bone? So the body code is something that I've only been using for about 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years. I can't remember now. I've lost track. But I use it on myself a lot, and I've started to uncover a lot of what I sort of feel like is the remaining root chakra stuff that I've been working on. So the body code, sort of me finding out more about this, the more I go on, has helped me make connections with the root chakra. And I mean, this chakra kind of governs the parasympathetic nervous system and also the legs, the feet, the spine, the bones, the blood, the sciatic nerve, the sexual organs, the colon, the adrenals, the bladder, the teeth, and the hips. So if you have any physical problems with any of those parts of your body, it's likely that this could be your body calling out to you that you have some sort of misalignment with your root chakra. And anything like that is temporary. So don't listen to any medical professional who would tell you that that's permanent because it isn't. Nothing's permanent. So how I sort of go about working on myself, like, is that whenever a shit show comes up in my reality, which is quite often, um, then I will go to the body code or the emotion code. I'll do some tapping and I'll deal with whatever it is that comes up. And the body code, I can just ask myself questions using muscle testing. Is it because of this? You know, is it trapped emotion in my body? And then I can identify that. And then my body is in conversation with me. I'm communicating with my body and my wider consciousness. And then I'm able to release that energy. And then as soon as I've released that energy, my body lets go of it. And then that life circumstance that's been happening to me no longer needs to be there because I got the message and that energy was actually removed. So I no longer need to have that reflected in my reality. So this is actually easy and there's nothing special about me. I don't want you looking at me and going, oh, she's magical and like she knows how to do all this and no one else does. This is a book that you can buy in the shops or on Amazon. It's all out there for you for free. You can read it, you can learn to muscle test, you can do this. So anyone can do this. And so that's what I'm here for, to do this and then to show other people that you can do this. So it's easy. Jobs are good. So that was a very simplified version of me sort of talking about self-healing. But when I set out on this spiritual path, I didn't know what I was getting into. And I didn't know how hard it was going to be, a lot of this stuff, but and I think my soul, I think, signed up to do quite a few impossible things. So the root chakra is actually all about safety, support, and stability. So none of those three things existed in the childhood that I had. So my childhood was none of these. It was extremely emotionally unsafe, abusive. I was parented by quite unconscious parents. I was surrounded by conflict a lot. There was the Catholic religion going on, Catholic school. I was physically unsafe. There was a lot of gaslighting. There was a lot of illusion. So it wasn't just a lack of my basic needs being met, but there was a lot of cruelty as well and neglect. So obviously, a lot of this I suppressed and I didn't sort of become aware of the full scale of kind of what happened to me until I was in my 30s, actually. And then my consciousness was flooded with information and I joined the dots and I realized kind of what happened. So when I first got on the healing path and I started to heal, it was because I had to, like I had no choice, like I had to survive. So the root chakra is about survival. So if you go directly to the root chakra and you start working on the survival stuff that is causing your root chakra to be blocked, you will attract a lot of shit. So anybody who's on a healing path knows that as soon as you go directly to heal things, all your shit comes up because the universe wants you to heal. It will show you what's in the way. So the universe wants you to take the path of least resistance. So all of the stuff that's in the way of, you getting to your destination that you've chosen, that you want your life to be like, all the shit that's in the way will come up. So um yeah, my root chakra it's been a huge problem for me. But like, just listen to this extra layer as well. Like, a few years ago, a friend of mine was into astrology, and I found it a bit ridiculous. And so I'm quite experimental. I went and had a session with an astrologer, and it was amazing, actually. And I totally get it now, although I'm not an expert on astrology at all. But this astrologer looked at my chart and she said, okay, she said, you've got no earth. So I've got no earth in my chart at all, which isn't unheard of, but I think it is a bit unusual. So not only am I quite an ungrounded person because of the type of trauma that I've had, and obviously the root chakra is to do with being grounded on the earth, being safe on the earth. So I was already quite unsafe on the earth because of the trauma, but actually it appears that I have no earth like in my chart at all. So I'm very, very air. And I've got lots and lots of Gemini in my chart, which makes me, thinking. So this instability to my root chakra has caused me, well, when I was 20, I got into a relationship with somebody who I ended up being with for 24 years. And sort of retrospectively looking at that, I just wanted someone to look after me. I just needed to feel safe. And this guy was quite a safe person, but we became incompatible, But as it turned out, he didn't really look after me. And there was a few things that went on that was not okay. Um, so I didn't know when I committed to self-healing that things were going to get as difficult as they have got for me. So I separated from him in 2018, and I didn't know that the healing that I'd started to do was a lot of root chakra stuff until it kind of all started to come up. So um, there was so much suppressed unsafety and instability and unsupported energy that I had in my past. It's kind of like I've heard people refer to this kind of healing as swimming through shark infested waters. So being in the world on my own with a child, learning how to be myself for the first time ever in my 40s and 50s, like it's been intense. And lots of things have happened to me from working on my root chakra and like just all of this stuff. So I mean, especially when you think that, I separated from him in 2018, learning to be independent in the world, and then went straight into a pandemic and an apocalypse. And, as well as like running a anti-pharmaceutical, healing business, it's like, there weren't really many other ways I could have made it difficult for myself as I have. Um, so sort of like this is what it's like if you don't really know what you're doing and you're making it up as you go along, and you start healing your root chakra when you haven't really got a plan. So the past 7 years of me being by myself, like I've moved house 7 times. So 7 times in 7 years. So all the survival mode stuff that I've had to deal with has looked like me attracting all the wrong types of people. So lots of people that have been very abusive and quite dangerous, actually, but dangerous in the way that they've pretended to be my friend, but really they just had agendas and illusions to weave. So this is actually, changing my energy a lot, doing so much healing, but like working on all this kind of stuff. It's caused me to be homeless twice. Once because I, took on the energy companies, who wanted to change my smart meter and I didn't agree with it. And then they broke into my house like terrorists. So that was one time. And then, another time, a person who I trusted that I was living with, who I thought was a close friend of mine, I suddenly realized their mask came off, and I suddenly realized that they were domestically abusing me with an agenda that they hadn't thought to mention to me. So, and then I was sort of rescued by a person that I thought was kind, but actually, I thought they were kind and sort of like-minded, but they turned out to be actually quite dangerous for me to be around and for my daughter to be around. So there's been like as well, like loads of, I've tried to date men and like have tried to find out about relationships and learn about relationships. And it's been hard to believe actually, like the amount of difficulties I've had to face because the universe has been showing me all this root chakra stuff, which is obviously reflections of my past, not just in this life, but past lives, ancestral energy. I think that I signed up to carry a lot. A friend of mine and me have joked that I've done so much self-healing in this life that I've become completely incompatible to earth men. So I'm incompatible to earth men. Maybe I need like a nice friendly spaceman. But who knows? Like, I don't think I'm not the only spiritual woman that has wondered that as well. So yeah, there's been a lot of unsafety in childhood um, for me, and probably for many of you spiritual people out there. So working on the root chakra is not easy, and it can take you through the gates of hell, um, because the universe will do that to it will bring you situations that mirror the original wounds. Um, but it has been particularly difficult for me because I did go the wrong way, quite a few times, and I think I signed up to be a teacher of all of this stuff. So I've had to have it quite difficult, I think, for that reason. And it's quite clear from my Gene Keys profile as well that I picked quite a difficult journey. So yeah, so the root chakra is our survival chakra associated not just with basic needs like food, shelter, water, air, but also non-physical needs. So things like closeness, empathy, understanding, significance. Um, so security and stability is is basically what we mean when we're talking about grounding. So being grounded on the earth, safety, instinct, trust, belonging, courage, resourcefulness. Like these are all things that are connected with this chakra. So none of these I actually had access to as a child. So I've had to unblock myself on steroids, to achieve anything in this life. So if your root chakra is blocked, it's possible that as a child your best interests were not considered. So if it feels like your best interests were not considered and you were not loved, kind of taken as a part of your parents, that there's no way to actually feel safe under these circumstances. Um, there's no way to kind of feel rooted to the earth. So this is how, sometimes people feel kind of like cast adrift. So this has definitely happened to me a lot. So this root chakra is actually pulling energy, not just it's pulling energy in from the earth into your body from the earth, but it's also sending energy down into the earth. It's kind of like a toroidal field, if you can imagine that. So any destabilizing event or destabilizing person or situation can set us adrift. So some of these words, like if these ring bells for you, then it would suggest that you've got something happening with your root chakra that you would need to be addressing. Um, yeah, so if you feel insecure, ungrounded, distrustful, unmotivated, depleted, aggressive, stuck, weak, frail, vulnerable, stagnant, disorganized, compromised, lonely, anxious, panic, lack of abundance, scarcity, depression, disinterest, disconnection, indifference, maybe nightmares at night. I would say generally like a PTSD kind of feeling. Um, I mean, it's only when we have our needs met that we can focus actually on growth and expanding and actually reaching our potential and like becoming that service to others that we would all love to be, you know. I mean, I sort of feel like I've been trying to be service to others for a long time, but like a sort of mirror reflection of my childhood has been happening to me where I just kind of get going. I just feel stable and secure. And then it's like I get taken down by something, knocked over again, or somebody that I trusted turns out to not be trustworthy. And like this has happened to me over and over and over again. And it's been relentless. And I know that many people describe like a very similar set of circumstances to that. So that this can be that kind of reflection can be like a root chakra issue. So I found it very difficult to expand. And it's like, you know, sometimes it's been really hard for me to get my business off the ground because you have to feel safe in order to create, you know, it just makes sense. But I do, as I've gone on, like I have got felt safer and safer and safer. And I've started to, when the shit shows happen, I've started to just accept that they're happening and then move through it curiously rather than trying to push it away or resist, because like that just doesn't work at all. So um it's because of this experience that I've sort of been drawn to somatic therapies that kind of work with the body, because this chakra, the root chakra, is about the physical. It's about being on the planet. So if this chakra is out of alignment, it does prohibit growth quite a lot. So if you feel like it's hard to get going and what you're trying to create, you just can't sort of maintain it. It's not just you. Like there are zillion, you know, gazillions of us trying to get things going and to maintain it. So yeah, this chakra is the one that is most connected to our physical experience. And also this is the chakra that is most connected to intergenerational trauma, so ancestral trauma. And also, this is the chakra that is most connected to time, which I find really interesting. Um, yeah, so as I've mentioned before, I follow a spiritual teacher called Teal Swan, who I find like very informative and fascinating. So she actually has synesthesia, so her perception is like very interesting, and she perceives energy and like all sorts of things that most people don't. And according to her, she says that the root chakra is the most out of alignment with people that are on the spiritual path, because we often, you know, try to get away from the physical and into space. You know, we're kind of getting out of our body and into our heads a lot. But interestingly, she says white people, you know, out of all of the races on planet Earth, white Caucasian people have the most out of alignment root chakras, which I find really interesting. And she says that Black cultures, so African cultures, African American cultures, and particularly sort of um, native indigenous cultures around the world actually have the most in alignment root chakras. So that's interesting. But in terms of like, you know, the spiritual people, probably all of you that are listening, she says like we're basically programmed for diminishment. So this is where the codependent thing comes up again. So you know, we kind of subconsciously believe that we can't have our chakras too open and we can't have them too closed. So we kind of feel like we should be kind of like roundabout in the middle, you know. And I think this is like not wanting to be all kind of ego driven, but it just isn't true and it just doesn't work like that. So, like, if you want to be in a natural state of health, like physical health, emotional health, mental health, then you know you want to be an actualized human, so you have to go at healing completely full speed. Like you have to go in and be all in. So you want your chakras to be as open as possible. Like there can't be any sort of half-assing because that 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 doesn't get good results and it doesn't make sense, this diminishment. It doesn't. And it's a program. Um, so yeah, so working on the root chakra is really difficult. Um, but one of the biggest mistakes that I've made along the way is that I tried to be independent. So because I'd had so much bad luck with relationships, like it, of course, it makes sense that I just wanted to avoid people. And I can't tell you how many clients I get who just want to avoid people and they hate people and they're done with people. Obviously, it makes sense, and I'm never going to invalidate that because I've been through that myself. And the problem is that chronic independence does not work. And you can kid yourself all you like, but it doesn't work. So I've got some action steps here, which hopefully can kind of lead you into a helpful direction and not have as many kind of shark infested waters that I've had to navigate through, which, has been ridiculous. So one of the best things that you could do, action step number one, is accept that you have needs. Just that. So stop pretending that you don't have needs. Stop suppressing your needs. So many people on the spiritual path, we didn't have our emotional needs met as children. And that's why we are spiritual, because we have been kind of led to and attracted to meeting our needs in the non-physical, which is fine. It's fine. It makes sense that we would seek God, that we would seek the guidance of the universe and of our non-physical spirit team, of course. But we live on planet Earth and we just cannot get away from the fact that we are a relational species. So many of us try to cope by avoiding other humans, and it is not going to work. So we can't pretend that we don't need. So, we can't pretend that we don't need food or water or rest or affection or companionship or belonging or understanding. We just can't pretend because it won't work. So many of our parents, they made it wrong and bad for us to need. So they made us the bad guy for needing. And this was true for me. We cannot unneed what we need. We can't heal ourselves out of a need. I mean, some of our needs are actually detrimental to us. And like I've talked about this before, like codependent needs, like we can have an unhealthy dependence on another person or a substance or something like that, for example. But the needs that we need that are for our survival and for our thrival, we cannot heal ourselves out of. We have to accept that we have them. And this is actually quite hard for a lot of people on the spiritual path. So here's a question. So if you've got your pen and paper, write this question down because you basically have to start to meet your needs. And I don't mean just you on your own, because that's what I tried to do. And it didn't work. And it shouldn't work because we're a relational species. So the question is, and it's sort of a fill in the blank thing. So ask yourself, what do I need in order to feel supported? What do I need in order to feel supported? So for each person, that's going to look different. What does that look like for you? So for you to feel supported, what would that be? And then you can also, where that word supported is, you could like just keep filling it in with different things. So, for example, what do I need in order to feel connected? What do I need in order to feel understanding? What do I need in order to feel nourished or nurtured? What do I need in order to feel stable? What do I need in order to feel safe? What do I need in order to feel loved? So, this kind of like self-reliance and independence thing, for me, I think it was a thing that I had to go through. I had to try and go it alone. I had to try to be by myself in order to face all the shit because I'm becoming a teacher of all of this. So I think I had to go the wrong way. And like, I don't believe in the wrong way, actually. But like, if you're not going to be a teacher of all this stuff, you don't have to go the wrong way. So if you're kind of like being chronically independent or trying to rely on yourself for everything, just first of all, like know that you're doing that, like notice that you're doing that and notice that there could be better ways. So self-reliance and independence, it's fine, it can be part of a process, but it's not the answer. It's okay to ask for support. It's okay to acknowledge that you haven't got everything nailed down yet. And it's okay to acknowledge that we need each other because we do. We need each other. So seeking kind of seeking independence, it can lead you backwards. And it took me backwards. It took me off the path like a lot. Um, so thinking that you have to fend for yourself and meet all of your needs alone is the hard way. And actually, that's probably a reflection of your trauma. So, I mean, I've sort of got memories of being a small child with basically a worry list, having all these things I was worried about, and there was no one looking after me. I didn't know what to do about all these things. So I racked my brains all the time and worried, and I was anxious. How do I solve this problem? How do I solve that problem? And I had to fend for myself, and I had to to like do everything myself because there was no one there for me. So that's sort of been a recurrent theme in my life for a long time. Um, you don't have to go that way in adulthood. Like you can just go directly to the support because that's the way that it works. So we need to move towards interdependence. So something that we have to just know is that a human sense of safety can be sort of derived from just believing that it is actually possible to get your needs met. Because many of us have had so much hardship and adversity and difficulty that we just don't believe it's possible to get our needs met, which is why we end up being chronically independent and lonely and miserable. So I would advise, like, do a boatload of research on how to become an expert on safe relationship. So safe, fulfilling relationships. So this will help you to gravitate towards people who are capable of safe relationships instead of people who are not. So I've had like a string of people in succession over and over again, men and women, who are just not safe in so like every different which way. Like I can't even begin to tell you. It's been like a Stephen King film for me. So another thing is like don't try to get rid of your fear because like we need to take loving care of our fear. So the root chakra is all about instinct and survival. So the fear is something that we have to actually bring towards us. So we spend, most of our time denying the fear or disowning it, or in the spiritual community, we'll try to rise out of it or transcend it. None of those things are making it go away. Like what you're actually doing is you're causing that fear to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's not going to end well. So you have to get out in front of it. So don't try and get rid of your fear. You have to process it. So that means take loving care of it, sit with it, and become friends with it. So you can use tapping and then focus on the sensation of that in your body. Don't deny it or disown it or transcend it. It's an instinctual energy that you need, which has kept you safe, actually. But we don't have to be living in fear all the time. And we're not meant to be fearless. We're meant to integrate it, which means embrace it and bring it towards us, not push it away. So there's like a million things that we can do to stimulate the root chakra, actually. Loads of like really creative things that we can research online and sort of make it our own. So the colors red, black, brown, and grey are all colors that we might, if we have a root chakra issue, that we probably wouldn't be drawn to, but actually they can stimulate the root chakra. So I would suggest putting those colors around you in whatever way, decorate your house with those colors, wear those colors, expose those colors to you somehow. Also, you can just go on Spotify or on YouTube and you can find sound healing that is aimed specifically at the root chakra, like binaural beats, that kind of thing. Breath work is amazing for any kind of safety issue. So breath work is brilliant for the root chakra, and anything that leads you to grounding, so feet on the earth, working with crystals. There's very specific crystals actually that if you do your research, you can find out which ones are specifically good to be working with for the root chakra. And also things like toning and humming and certain kind of like I've forgotten the word for it. Um, enunciations with your mouth. What I've forgotten the word for that. Like Tibetan monks often do amazing root chakra sounds as well. So you can probably find some of that. Like basically any kind of sound healing that will vibrate the pelvic floor is going to be amazing for root chakra stimulation. Also, eating root vegetables, like, that sounds a bit crazy and kind of obvious, but yeah, nature always gives us these like answers that are just right there that you probably wouldn't think about. So yeah, grow root vegetables and eat root vegetables. Anything, any process that helps you get into your body. So that this is why I've ended up being a somatic healer, because this is about using your body, engaging with your body on every level, like multi-dimensional levels. So any physical movement, any form of exercise that kind of boosts your circulation, helps you connect with your body. Um, Things like yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong are fantastic for the root chakra. Um, yeah, there's loads and loads of these really beautiful ways to work with the root chakra. But from my experience, which has been terrible, please don't go the way that I went, trying to do everything yourself and like being chronically independent and it just isn't the way. It just isn't the way. I think that learning about relationships is the main thing that I would do to help yourself get out of this survival mode. Because as soon as you find people that are on your wavelength, that are like-minded, that you can actually feel like you trust them and that you feel safe with, you can actually fly from there, and it's surprisingly fast, like how quickly you can heal by just being around the right people. So, I mean, because I've attracted, I think I signed up to be an investigator of relationships and to have it the difficult way so that I can teach about it. Um, there's been so many people that have tricked me and that I've trusted, and my heart is just like it's always been very open, and I've never really understood why people are so cruel and so mean. And I've attracted lots of lessons that way. But I think the main thing to do if you have uh, out of alignment root chakra is to learn to self-heal, learn how to sit with your emotion, learn how to do inner child work, learn how to do parts work as well is like a fantastic process. So self-healing and learning about relationships, I think, is the key, as well as looking after your body in every single way that you can. Um, yeah, I think that's mainly what most of what I wanted to say today. So, if anybody wants to sort of pitch in or ask anything, then yeah, we've got a bit of time left. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
I'll jump in and say thank you very much, first of all, Jenny. Been very interesting listening to you what you've been talking about. And I've, I've got no questions, to be fair, because I can't. I'm in a place now where I've got past that. My traumas, my early life, all my things that I've done, things that I've not done, and the way folk have treated me, the way I've treated other folk, things that I've witnessed. Um, yeah, but I've always had this little thing of foreseeing certain things occurring in my life. So I've never really had that issue. So I sometimes struggle to understand what it's like for people.
Yeah.
And not where I am.
Yeah. It sounds peaceful where you are.
It is for me, and it is for now. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't know what's going to happen next month. But for now, for me, I'm where I'm needing to be, and I'm happy being here. And if I have to spend the rest of my life here in this place, whilst I sort of think might get a bit boring, but I don't mind the boredom. I don't mind the tranquil boredom of contentment.
Yeah, it's chop wood to carry water, isn't it? It's kind of like, you know, sometimes I wish I was bored. Sometimes I wish that I had the stability to be bored, if you see what I mean. Because boredom is quite a stable frequency when you think about it, because you've got control from there. It's when you've had trauma that has led you to be very out of control, and then you have to deal with all of that in later life that, you're very unsafe when things are not within your control. But like when you're bored, it's like from there, it's kind of like that it's not necessarily an unsafe place, is it, boredom?
Oh, absolutely not. But it can become tedious.
Yeah.
I find myself. It's like Groundhog Day. I know each day what I'm going to be doing, and there's no, even if I try and mix it up a little bit, basic premise of the day is going to be the same no matter what. And I'm happy with that. I'm a good woman, Andy. That's what No, I don't know. Picture fancy. There's an ethos that I've sort of, as I've gotten older, this is, I've always known as well, that's something else that I knew that as I got older, the desire for women would diminish, and it has. And I've done that. I've been there. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't rattle my cage like it used to do. And I've got this. If I meet somebody and we, something evolves from that, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to stop it from happening. I will let it roll and see where it goes. So I'm not opposed to it, but I'm also very happy and content where I am. And I tended to find that when you put a woman into the equation, it kind of mixes the ball up a little bit. Very, very careful, Happy.
Yeah,
I'm 57 now, so yeah, I'd be. I know it sounds a bit corny or a bit cheesy, but I'm more interested in developing companionships and I get you. Friendships. Yeah. And that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, I can come home, shut the door, and just say, that's it for today, and see what happens tomorrow. I was going to swear there.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Andy. Like I sort of have had so much relationship adversity that I've sort of like I haven't given up on relationships with men, but sort of I'm having a period of time where I'm focusing full on my relationship with myself because I've needed to. Do you know what I mean? But I think at the right time, I'll probably move out of that, and maybe there will be somebody that will be right for me. I do keep that kind of like dream alive, but I'm not like in that sort of craving. I simply must have a relationship, which I have been in before. I've been in that vibe before. Um, and it's not a nice place to be craving somebody else. But yeah, I've kind of pendulum swung the opposite way where I'm kind of just happy on my own, without a man. But yeah, it's an interesting place to be because you just realize that, you know, you have to sort yourself out first, don't you? You have to get yourself right. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Um,
And that's where I'm at with that. I've got all my needs are met, all
mm,
my creature comforts, and I could be doing other things, but I'm happy not doing other things.
mm,
So, and then I listen, which is I enjoy listening to the things that you talk about on your shows because I sit here and I think to myself, and you'll say a phrase like chronic dependent, chronic independence. Chronic independence.
yeah.
And I try and sort of self-analyze myself with the things that you're talking about, the things that you're discussing, and I sort of like, is that me? Is she describing me?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it is. Maybe you have aspects of that. Maybe you don't. But I mean, it's only you that could determine that. And like, if you are in that, at some point you'll realize that you are and that it isn't doing you any good. If you're not in that and you're happy, that probably isn't what you're experiencing. But like, you're kind of like you've created this show and sorry, not this show. You've created this radio station and like you've built this community out of nothing. So you've created like so much kind of life and you know you've solved like you've connected people in ways that they wouldn't have found answers to solutions and you've created this kind of empire of of loveliness. Do you know what I mean? That isn't really kind of like being chronically independent. That's just being very creative and like you've built a community. Do you know what I mean? Building a community is like the opposite of chronic independence in a way. But like, there's probably like lots of different flavors to it, and it
Well, when I
depends.
when I initially set out to do holistic radio and how it evolved, I never intended the way you've just described it. That was never the intention. It was just to see what happens, see where it goes, see how it grows, and see what with it. And I didn't set out to think I'm going to create this intertwinable community of voices and etc. etc. It was just one of them, like a snowball. You
Yeah.
start off with a tiny, tiny snowball, and let's see, the more you roll it, the more it gets bigger and bigger, and let's see where it goes. And that was it. And that was the only intention that I had.
Yeah, it's quite magical, isn't it? It's brilliant.
It is. Yeah, definitely.
I think when things are kind of like spontaneous and kind of organic in the way that they grow, it's almost like, you just had to get the ball rolling, and then it just grew itself. Those things are right, you know, they're definitely
Yeah,
right.
like an unplanned night out.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
always the best ones.
totally. That's true. Yeah, yeah. Where you just pop in for a pint and you're still there the next day.
I've done that in the past when I was younger. I've literally, I've done the out out.
Mm.
I've popped out to go to the shop, and I've literally had a bag of whatever, bread, milk, whatever, and I've bumped into somebody, and then come to the pub. We'll just off the pub. Oh, I'll just stick my head in and have a quick pint. So I've done that, and they ended up there all night.
Mm. And then doing the walk of shame, doing the walk of
Yeah,
shame home at like whatever time
yeah.
of the morning.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't out out, but I only popped out.
Mm. Out, out. Funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's a what's his name now? There's a there's a comedian he did a thing about going out and then being out out. It
Mhm.
became one of his catchphrases.
Mhm.
It became quite well known. Was it who?
Lee Mack.
No,
Mm.
it wasn't Lee Mack. No, it was a Cockney one. What's it? Not Kevin Bridges. Um. Oh, I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. It'll come to me
Mm.
eventually.
Mm.
But yeah, it's interesting to listen and hear the way things are evolving and the way that people evolve and
Mm.
the way that shows evolve. But that was, yeah, totally unplanned, and it's just snowballed, and here we are.
Mm. Yeah.
And who knows where we'll be in 12 months' time?
Mm,
Mickey
gosh.
Flanagan. Mickey Flanagan. That's the
Ah,
guy.
yeah, I know. Yeah. Mm.
Funny guy. Very, very
Mm.
funny guy. Makes some extremely good observations. And yeah, I've watched a few of his shows and thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed his kind of humour. There's Mickey Flanagan, Kevin Bridges alike, and there's a couple of others. And yeah, it's good, and it's also good. I have always find it's always good to fall asleep to humorous comedy or something light-hearted
Mm.
because you carry that with you into your sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you fall asleep watching Freddy Krueger or Nightmare on Elm Street type films, type of things, and you carry that into your sleep,
yeah,
and it's not good.
yeah,
Dramas, anything that's hard, anything that's murder mysteries and all these kind of different things. Don't
yeah.
carry them into your sleep.
Yeah, and I think laughter is people say it's the best medicine, but like it affects every system of your body, doesn't it, when you laugh? And it's just so good for you. It really is. So sometimes I watch like a bit of comedy when I'm feeling really down, like just to snap out of it, just to get yourself out of that frequency. It's so good to watch a bit of comedy. I mean, I find Bill Bailey really funny. I don't know why. Like he does music. He has, and he does music in a very funny and creative way. And I like all the things that he's been in, like Black Books, and yeah, like some people they just resonate, don't they? And it just really cheers me up. Yeah.
And another one, and please don't take this the wrong way, but female comedians have really never tickled me. Apart from Sarah Millican.
Yeah.
She is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, she is quite masculine actually in her humor.
She is.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's if a bloke was saying the things that she says, it probably wouldn't be as funny.
No.
It's the accent, it's the faces that she pulls, it's the mannerisms that she puts together, the whole package on stage when you watch it, the topics that she discusses. They're all down-to-earth topics. They're all relatable. Everyone, even men, can relate to the thing that she says. But she's saying it from a woman's perspective. And they're absolutely bang on every time. They're just sort of like, yeah, I'm just in stitches when I listen to her. She's got quite a few full shows available for free on YouTube as well. So if anybody's interested, if you're not a prude, then Sarah Millican is definitely a must-watch. If you're a little bit put off by humour, then don't watch Sarah Millican. She's got one show where she's got all these penises splattered all over the back of the stage. It's like, well, you know what we're coming here for.
And he's really rude, and this kid trying to shut him down. Raw Chubby Brown.
All right, yeah.
I like to watch. You can get on YouTube. You can get clips of Americans watching Raw Chubby Brown or Betty Star or Burning Manning, and they're shocked at what they got away with.
Yeah.
Right.
Because afterwards that some of the English comedians use now, the Americans couldn't use that on TV.
Yeah.
So there's really prudish in all the acts. Well, it's funny watching. There's one guy called, I think he's called the Bearded Critic, something like that, and his laugh is funnier than anything that he's watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Carly's been quiet. We've not heard anything from Carly.
Oh, I was thinking about the shows and the community and companionship and it blossoming, and I'm writing little notes, and I'm then thinking about the root chakra, and I was doing figures of 8, and then it was going into a flower. So I've just been birthing creations in this little section of paper that I've got, so I'm exploring.
Yeah. It is lovely, isn't it, Carly, to sit and like just listen to a couple of shows, because like I had some spare time a few days ago. I can't remember when it was, and I tuned into a couple of shows, and I don't normally get time because I'm normally just running from one calamity to the next. But yeah, it was just so nice to just chill and listen and like learn a few things and look at things from a different perspective. And it is a very sort of relaxing community, this, and it's nice when you just click on, the music files thing, and then you can just let it play. And like, if you can just randomize it and let the universe choose what to listen to, I think it's lovely. It's such a nice mixed bunch of people.
Absolutely. Like I was thinking when I don't know if you said it, but just a minute ago about going to bed with things that are positive, and I was thinking, well, often I go to bed with Jen, I go to bed with things. I'm in the flow of this. Sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, who's that?
Yeah.
And then I'm back there. Somebody sent me straight to sleep, and I think, well, that must have been doing a lot of work. Like Andy's dreaming. So I just feel bliss from so much of everybody that sort of interacts and how it's grown. And yeah, there's just immense gratitude for each and every one of us.
Yeah,
and
yeah, definitely.
That's where I was.
Yeah.
And thanks.
Oh,
And
that's lovely.
just everybody. Yeah, big love. And the chuckle, I chuckle away to myself.
Have you thought of doing a show, Pearly?
I don't know, I'm years off of that.
We would listen to you. I'd listen to you.
I don't know what it could be anything.
Yeah, but you know, I think
there's been my friend is like evolving in this baking business that she's her life at the moment. I don't mean business as in going out and doing it. Possibly there may be progression there. And I'm FaceTiming her and she's teaching me how to cook like poppy seeds and things. Would be maybe she'd enjoy doing a show and for a recipe and anyone that wanted to join in.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the root chakra, I was thinking, oh, Helen made a soup, and that was to do with the root chakra. So I was thinking, oh, food, nourishment, safety, contentment. Oh, the exploring that goes on is it's blissful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I love how it all fits together because there's always synchronicity working, isn't there?
Without, without, it just keeps flowing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
And it's sort of, I'm thinking like, there was something that you mentioned and I didn't have it, that
interdependence. Yeah.
So I had to spread that word out into little bits, and I thought I'll come back to that in a minute. And I think that is part of the companionship and part of the opening up to that, because we are by nature that kind of communion, that expressing and that sharing, and you have to be brave to kind of step forth into that.
Yeah, you do, especially if you've had a background of like, trusting people and then it's backfired, and then that's happened over and over again. Like at some point you have to just see, okay, I've got some sort of frequency going on that needs healing because I'm attracting exactly the wrong sort of people. So as soon as you heal that frequency and then you're open to attracting the right kind of people, then you can start moving towards interdependence, which is like a healthy form of dependence. So that's when you meet people that you can rely on. And then your like interdependence is when you're both benefiting from that mutual reliance. So there's no bad thing happening. It's just good,
I think life, when you step out into it, that expansiveness of that happening and the frequency of that happening is quite regular. I think trying to navigate it inside a family seems to be a bit more complex.
Yeah.
I'll do a lot more pondering, Jen, and I will listen again, and probably again and again, sleeping and unsleeping.
And it's probably like if you're listening to shows like when you're asleep, it's probably working on you in some multi-dimensional way. Like your subconscious mind hears everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's nearly 7:07. Would you like to say a few final words, Jen, and then we can stop the recording, and then we can have a bit of an after-show chat?
Yeah. Okay. So what do I want to say? Yeah, I don't want to, like, I sometimes feel like when I do these shows, like I sometimes worry that some people might take it as like being overly focused on the negative. But the problem is that we have to do that. We can't, like, it doesn't work well if we avoid our emotions. And that is the biggest epidemic that there is on the planet, is that people don't really understand emotion, and there's a misconception that if we avoid them, then that's okay and they'll go away. But actually, the opposite is happening. If we avoid and deny and suppress the negative emotion, that it's just going to grow. And then at some point, it will hijack us. And I always advise that getting out in front of it is the best way. So I would say that our emotions are our guidance system. And the root chakra is a very important one because it is about our survival, our survival leading to our thrival. So if we don't deal with the root chakra, all the other chakras are going to be out of balance. But yeah, I think the best course of action for anyone is to always seek guidance within yourself about how to go about any of this stuff. And there's never one way of doing it. There's always multiple ways, which is the beauty of it. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be talking about next week, but I'll let you know on the channel. So thanks, Andy, for everything that you do, and thanks, Carly and Anita, for listening, and anybody else who's on the replay. And I'll see you next week. Bye.
Can I just ask a quick question, Jenny?
Sure.
When you say sit with your emotions,
Mm.
now I'm trying to do this, and when I sit in the emotion of fear, how do I deal with that? What do I do with that fear when I feel it and I try to sit with it? What can I expect to happen? Will it disappear? Do I accept it? What happens?
So yeah, it's a very difficult one, sitting with fear. And I was just talking to somebody today about this. So I would use a timer on your phone and like build it up like a muscle, because there is an end to the fear that we've got trapped in our bodies. Like we're never going to get rid of fear completely, because we need it to keep us safe from tigers in the bushes or like whatever the threats are. But there's a huge amount of fear within all of us that we don't need to be carrying around, that is actually kind of residue from past experience. So to sit with your fear, there is an end point to that. So it's kind of like,
when would I know that?
So I think like do it in short bursts. So the question that if I was in the room with you, that I would ask you is, how do you know you've got that fear? So I would use tapping. So choose a tapping point to tap on, and then just say to yourself, I'm choosing to be with my fear. So you're making it really clear to your subconscious mind, I'm not denying it. I'm not distracting myself with an addiction. I'm not putting my music on. I'm not kind of like looking at my phone. I'm just going to be present with my fear. And I'm just going to witness it. So that might feel like a feeling in your throat, or it might feel like a heaviness in your stomach, or it might feel like a tension in your shoulders. It might be all those things. So just ask yourself, how do I know I'm in this fear? And then just be with all of those signs and symptoms in your body or in your thoughts, whatever that is. So for me, like that fear is kind of like always, it feels like it's in my chest, kind of like almost like I'm holding my breath kind of feeling. Yeah. So like when you're holding your breath, that is going to trigger your body into all the ways that survival mode happens in your body. So when you're sitting with your fear, it would be a really good idea to notice that you're shallow breathing, and then breathe through the fear. So notice where the fear is in your body, and then stay focused on the sensation, the physical sensation in your body of the fear, but then breathe as deeply as you can in and out while you're with yourself when you're in that fear, because it's coming from little Anita, who didn't have anyone with her when she was in fear. Do you know what I mean? So you're
just wondering how not to get over it, but to sit with it, and then what do I do with it?
Yeah. So
like your chest.
Yeah.
someone's in knots, do you then just say to yourself while you're tapping, I'm going to sit with this a while, and then when you get to a certain point, breathe where you should, and do some belly breathing, and that in my head tells me, I've got a grip of the fear now. Actually breathe.
So the another thing to say that's really important for this is to not go into this with the intention of getting rid of the fear. Go into it with the intention that you're going to caretake your fear, because caretaking it is going to make the fear get smaller and smaller and smaller. But don't go into it going, I have to get rid of this fear, I have to get rid of this fear, because that's pushing it away. So you've got to do everything you can to bring it towards you. So focusing on the physical sensation while you're tapping is a perfect way to do that. So if you sort of imagine that you're receiving the fear, like almost like you're watching a film, like you're receiving the information. So the fear has got information for you. So if you imagine just tapping, breathing through the fear, but just watching it as if you're watching a film, so witnessing it like you've got your popcorn out. I wonder what this fear is going to show me. And so you might get memories connected with that. So you might just think of people from the past, or whatever it is. And there's nothing, you don't have to do anything. So you don't have to do it, like just keep it really simple. So the idea is just to be with the fear, because no one else was with your fear when you were little. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same for all of us.
Yeah. Well, when you're when I was a little girl, Mum and Dad were arguing and plates were flying across the room, and my stomach was on knots, and the other two kids were older than me, and they were out, so there was only me, and baby was in bed. So it seemed to be me all the time, that saw all the heard all the arguments, and that knot in the chest and the stomach is the exact same knot I had from 4 years old.
That is something you definitely need to sit with. If it feels like the exact same feeling, that is a pot of gold. So the fact that you can tune into that sensation and you remember it's the same one, just keep working on that. So just 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. If you can sit with it for half an hour, like you do yourself so much good. But there is an end point to that, but it might take you some time. And how you will know is that you will notice that it changes. So each time you go into it, you'll be like, oh, it feels a bit different this time. Or like sometimes it will actually move. Sometimes it will sort of produce colours or shapes. Or
it does move sometimes.
Yeah. So it has to move, because there's always an observer effect as whenever you watch energy.
It stretches out sometimes from sort of my stomach and the solar plexus up to my neck and the pubic bone. It spreads out, and it seems a bit easier then.
So when it's spreading out, it's trying to release. So it needs to like move up and kind of out of your head, if you can imagine that. So if you can visualize when it's stretching out, like you're doing a really good job because it's moving. So if you can get that energy to go up through the top of your head or down kind of through your root into the earth, or both, and ask for assistance from your angels, your guides, like whoever you feel that you're connected to, ask for help with that. Wouldn't it be nice if you could assist me to move this energy, to help my inner child and to help me and my family and my quality of life and all of that. Just keep watching it, and it will move eventually until you don't have it anymore.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
Right, I'll stop the recording there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, Andy.
No, I don't do anything really. I just sit here and listen. It's you, Jenny, and Anita, and Carly, and everybody else that interacts and that makes it what it is. Because we're all doing our little thing, aren't we?
you're holding the space. You're the masculine there, kind of with that. When Anita said that, you know, you need a good woman, I think you've got loads of good.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. And if you liked what you heard here today, thank you for liking and sharing and subscribing. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.